in what ways supersexualists are more, deserving of the big love that they printed across the line? Thank you. That's a good question. What I tried to do here, different from the other ones, which all featured the same kind of raging Soviet nebbish, what I tried to do here was create a character like Eunice Park and not merely have her be seen through the eyes of Lenny, but to have her own voice. So the book alternates between Lenny's diary entries and Eunice's. And what I'm interested in is how we perceive of love and how we perceive of interactions, especially in a digital world where there's fewer and fewer interactions. What is love going to look like in this kind of world? That's sort of the question that this asks. It may seem a strange question, but it's not just the way we talk about it to each other when we're in love, but just the way we communicate. For example, NYU had a seminar recently about, for incoming students, how to talk without using Facebook. So they had two students on stage, and they'd say, so Jimmy, come and ask Bob, where he's from. The guy'd be like, hey Jimmy, where you from? Bob would say, Jimmy would say, I'm from Syosset. I'm from Long Island too, And they would break the ice, and they would, because they couldn't talk to each other without being first sort of prodded to do that. And Lenny and Eunice are, in some ways, this is an immigrant story in that Lenny is an immigrant. He's not an immigrant from another country. He's an immigrant from a different era, which no longer exists. And Eunice, who spends a lot of her time in this book just shopping her apparat, is from a very different place. So the question is, how do you create love between these two? It's like sort of mating a giraffe and an elephant at the zoo. How are you gonna get this going? And I think what unites them, and what maybe unites some of the characters in these other stories, is the fact that they are both from very dysfunctional parents, from dysfunctional families. Both have had very difficult upbringings, tragic in some ways. And that's sort of what they seek from each other. This is what brings them together. When you think of other characters I've had, like Vladimir Gershkin in the Russian Deb, who is in love with Morgan, it's not so much that he's in love with her, it's what she represents. She represents America to him, and he, like most immigrants, wants to have that final stage of assimilation. Here, I see them too as being sort of equals in the sense that where they come from is a terrible place. And what they, what the novel asks, the question it maybe asks, is, can love help us overcome and separate us from our childhoods? If that's what, in the sense, we want to do. And the answer is no. Love is nice, but there's only so much it can do. And in the end, both Lenny and Eunice remain the children of their parents. Yes?
What you just said about assimilation and Lenny being an immigrant from a different time makes me think about Joshi and whether he's assimilated to the present from his farther back past. Maybe you could say something.
Yeah, Joshi is a character in this book who is 70 years old, but he undergoes all these dechronification treatments, so he actually looks younger than Lenny, who's 39.
Oh, and acts younger.
And acts younger, yes. He's using all the cool lingo in this book, like Timatov, which means think I'm about to openly vomit, and JBF, which just means I'm just butt fucking you. Shockingly enough, this book has only been out for 2 months. There is already a line of Timatov and JBF t-shirts and mugs, which you can buy on the internet. I didn't do anything, and I'm not getting any of the royalties, oddly enough, but they're out there. Well, Joshi, I know so many Joshis. They're wonderful because they simply refuse to die. America's full of people. We're entitled to everything, right? We're the best country in the world. We gotta have everything. Death is this horrible, inconvenient thing. What's the point of it? I mean, we gotta get rid of it somehow. And the point of it is, this actually is not fiction. There's a movement, it's called the transhuman movement, which actually is hoping for immortality. Ray Kurzweil and many other individuals their ultimate dream is that, we'll transcend our bodies and be downloaded into a nice mainframe or something, some kind of cloud computer in the sky, which to me does not sound so great. But, we are a very entitled people, and death is very annoying, and in this book, Joshi tries to overcome death, even as Lenny tries to do it as well. But in this book, immortality, or the hope of immortality, is reserved only for a very few, very wealthy people, which I think would be the case.
Is there a reason why in this book that Eunice is portrayed as this kind of younger, more fickle character, and Lenny the more intellectual, and he reads books which is frowned upon by society and kind of holds on to older ways? And also another example, another one is a woman that Lenny works with, and he sees her in a sexual way, and women are kind of portrayed, as I was reading it, in kind of more they shop all day and they post on the internet and don't read. And is there a reason why they would say that?
Well, in this future, nobody reads, and most people. There's only 3 careers that are really left in America. There's media, there's retail, and there's credit. And retail is considered the profession that women go into, and credit is considered the profession for men, basically providing the credit for the retail to be bought. And there's not, in my mind, there's no hierarchy. They're just 2 sides of the same coin. And media is practiced by everybody. So one of Lenny's friends has the Noah Weinberg show, which streams about his stupid ideas about politics. And his girlfriend, Amy Greenberg, has the Amy Greenberg Muffin Top Hour, where she talks about her muffin top a lot and the different stages of her muffin top. I think in this book, both genders are equally debased and are equally just a part of this giant machine whose ideas are basically just to sell consumer items to the few Americans that have any credit left. But there are things that are very disturbing in a kind of sexualized way. For example, women wear these jeans called onion skin jeans, which are basically like being naked. It's just a little sheath. And it's interesting because in some ways this goes against the grain of what's happening in America, where, for example, college campuses are now almost, overwhelmingly female and not male. Men are not getting graduate degrees and undergraduate degrees at the same rate. So in some ways, this is an alternate future where the bipartisan party has taken us in a very conservative direction. And this is one of the outcomes, is this kind of, sexualization of women. And everyone in this book watches pornography. Even kids watch shows like Old Man Spunkers and stuff like that. So it's an interesting future. Let's see if we get there soon. Thank you so much. It's been just wonderful being here, and be more. Thank you.